What's up live and recorded it wherever you're watching us. That was our fucking intro. And like, I'm starting to groove to it. I don't know about you. I'm like,
Oh yeah, it's a banger, you know.
free gift to whoever can remix that the best. All three of you watching. Shout out. What's up, Tiana? Friend of the show. I'm
Whoever
Warren.
the third.
That's Aaron. And this is Movie Talk. And this is the first time we're doing it live on Twitch. I don't know how I feel about that.
I like it because, you know, we're doing it live. The mistakes are real. Our knowledge of movies and lack thereof are caught in real time.
We don't really have mistakes in movies. What I will say is we say some uncouth shit and I'm worried that's going to make it into a highlight before I can fucking edit it out and delete it. That's what I'm worried about, being way too real. But the good news is I am not buzzed or high, so the risk of that is very low.
I might regret that, but it's okay. Well, I'll make up for it next time.
But today we're discussing apocalypse movies, and Aaron and I are going to count down our top five favorite apocalypse movies, honorable mentions and things like that. But if you're new to the show, let me explain to you the format. So we introduce ourselves, we banter, we poke fun at us and our friends. We talk about what's new in movie news, maybe do some movie quotes, do some monologues, and then we get into the crux of what we're here to discuss. We are one half of the Chaos Agents, so all of that might happen or none of that might happen. So I just said that just to dangle a tease out in front of you guys. We don't know where today's going, but we're here for it.
Place your bets on what you think's going to happen because we're going balls of the wall crazy tonight with these apocalypse movies. You know, I don't even know if some of mine are apocalypse movies.
You know, in researching this and like, so I gave this more thought than I thought I would. There are a lot of apocalypse movies that it also forced me to be introspective about why am I drawn to this as a genre. Me and Uzo would just sit on the couch and be like, yo, that was great. Like the whole world burned. That was awesome.
So really good how they killed it all.
Yeah, dude, just wipe everyone out. That's a good way to go. That's if I was a demigod, that's how I would do it. It forces us to make a definition, right? What do you define as an apocalypse movie?
I think, okay, so you're either based on my top five, I think I'm going by you're either fighting the apocalypse or you're living through it. You know, like one of the two is happening. I guess both are always happening in the apocalypse movie. So, but don't get me wrong, because I think it has to do with mainly like if the apocalypse movie, if the threat or the cause of whatever's going on is the focal point, that's your apocalypse movie right there. Rather than like, I'll name one right.
If you say something on my list, I'm going to punch you in the face.
This is an honorable mention, I'll say. It's not in my top five because either way, I don't know if it lands in it, but let's say This Is the End is an apocalypse.
No, that didn't even make my list. That movie's dog shit, but go ahead.
I think it's hilarious. It's an honorable mention. As I told Lauren, she was like, it should be a dishonorable mention.
Yes.
Just because it's got cutting Satan's dick off. It's not an Oscar bait film.
Well, I mean, we are 8 minutes into this, and shout out to Hef for the 1,000-bit donation. Hef, since you've donated those bits, you get to decide how we spend them. We didn't plan to go live right now. This is unprecedented. So if you have a good idea of how that should be used, or if we should give it to the show on Tuesday, let us know in the chat. To your point, apocalypse movies always seem to have this like wasteland vibe. You're kind of like Last Man on Earth, sort of Fallout, sort of. That's what people think about when you think of apocalypse movies. But I like the films where you're in an apocalypse, but the apocalypse is the backdrop, right? You're still dealing with like crazy human shit in your little microverse.
All right, I like it. Yeah. Okay, that would have reshaped my list, but I'm staying strong to what I got because I like that definition.
I mean, I was trying to think of like I think I have a good one, but I was trying to think of like a psychological sort of one where maybe like never mind. Mother is a great one, right? Mother is the movie where she was raised with a robotic AI. I would classify that as an apocalypse movie, right? Because it's her in this unit with this AI taking care of her, and her job is to basically be mother, spoiler, and harvest in the next generation of humans because the Earth is destroyed, but you don't know that until you step out of the pod, right? But that's a movie about a woman growing up in isolation and having to deal with this like bot, overprotective bot, that cyborg thing that's like looking after her.
Huh. Okay. As I was refreshing my memory, on some of the apocalypse movies I've seen and loved, I noticed 12 Monkeys was on one of the lists. I found. You would consider that one
I
End of the
think
World?
so. I think so.
Okay. I've never seen it. So I'm just going off you on this one.
Well, I think the synopsis of 12 Monkeys, let me find it online. Brad Pitt basically wakes up in this environment that he can't control. And it's kind of like this like Armageddon sort of like, but I would classify that on its face as a not Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis. I would classify that on its face as an apocalypse movie.
I know there's probably a character name, but I wish it was just actually Brad Pitt as himself in the apocalypse.
Can we, at some point, these superstars are going to just transcend the stardom, and they're just going to be like, imagine Django Unchained if we're like, no, we just want you to be Leo in Django. We want you to be the slave boss, but we want you to be Leo. So yeah. So again, if you're just joining, thank you for joining. We are not talking about a specific movie today. We are talking about top 5 Armageddon movies in our guesstimate. We just discussed basically what our definitions, laying out what an apocalypse movie is. We're gonna get into honorable mention, but first, crazy movie news, Aaron. So we were talking about this last time, this theatrical release and at-home release. Warner Brothers has just basically said that their entire, theatrical release in early 2021 is going to be a mix of HBO Max and at home, HBO Max home theater and in theater releases. That's Space Jam, that's Dune, that's
yeah.
I think that's Godzilla and the new Suicide Squad, right?
It is. Yeah, I knew. Yeah, dude, it's going to be the wave of the future now.
Yeah, movie theaters are a relic, bro. Movie theaters are dead, and if I could Thanos snap them all out of existence right now, I would do it. I don't have to, dude. I mean, just think about what it means. What does it mean for storytelling? Sorry, go ahead.
No, HBO Max is the purple giant that will do that for you. Just snap it all.
I hope so. Because I'm personally tired of watching my favorite stories get Alita, right? We talked about Alita. How much better would Alita be if they released it on Netflix or HBO Max in a series versus trying to like jam everything into there? Right? It changes the format of the story you can tell.
Alita did terrible in the box office, as we discussed. I think if it were home released, the same day in theater, it would give a lot of those other movies that just don't feel like they're going to hit a wide market. It would give them a better opportunity, like on Netflix, to get, to reach more people. I'm trying to think of like if Bird Box was released in theaters solely instead of Netflix, do you think anyone would be talking about it as much as they did, regardless of Sandra Bullock's star power? I'm okay with it. I have nothing against her.
She was a genius to attach herself to a Netflix release project like that, because like it had no pull in the box office, 0 pull. It would have had no pull in the box office. But now things that I'm like, I have a subscription to HBO Max, so things that I'm like, I'll catch it when it comes out online or whatever. Like I'm going to be consuming it because it's right there. Additionally, I don't got to worry about germs, people kicking my chair. I fucking hate the traditional movie theater experience. I don't have to deal with cell phone lights, other people's audio soundtracks. I hate it with a passion when people applaud in the movie theater. No one can fucking hear you. Who that Jim Carrey meme, like, who you talking to? Who you yelling at? Shut the fuck up.
Confused by that. I only get it in like big spectacle movies, but only when it's like stupid, like fun. It's like Fast and the Furious. You can applaud in those. You're not missing anything, and you know what the type of crowd is. But for like Marvel films, I never got. I got why they were doing it. I never liked it. It always distracted me. And then the first time, actually, the first time I saw Star Wars, Clone Wars, yeah, when Yoda came out. The audience applauded, but I was so young at the time. I was like, "Why is there a laugh track in this?" Like, it was all.
Well, Thomas brought up a good point too. Like there's a lot of movies that are meant for immersive experiences, which is why I'm a huge VR movie watching advocate. If you haven't watched a film in VR yet, you're missing out. And I'd say if you're a film buff, that makes VR alone worth the purchase. So like something like Gravity, right? Like you can only see that in theaters. Ready Player One was only digestible to me because it was in an IMAX display. Otherwise, it was dog shit. Um, but even going to see those big box office films, think about it. Iron Man comes out, it's sold out. You got to find a theater maybe 2 towns over at a time that doesn't work for you to take time out to drive apart to do that whole thing, and then you're sitting next to a bunch of fucking chads who don't know how to shut up, right? Like this is not a great experience, dude. This is not you intended for me to watch it. So let's not pretend that this is the optimal experience. I don't know what the business model is going to be. Some productions might change as a result of not relying on that like pop culture bubblegum bullshit transformer stuff.
Please clap.
But that's good. This is a good thing for the industry in general, and it's great that the walls are starting to come tumbling down.
I'm hoping stuff will shift over to that side, you know, like Marvel and DC and all that's really fun, but it's not like really incredibly thought-provoking. So like I love that a lot of these indie films or foreign films are getting so much more recognition. Like I haven't seen Roma yet, but that also won an Academy Award yeah, I gotta check that out still. But Parasite as well, and just a lot. I didn't think it was going to be so successful, you know, because I feel like I like going to the theaters because I feel it's a fun experience. But it's like, yeah, it's just an outing. It really is just an outing. Like you can't enjoy and appreciate the movie to its fullest extent. Like that's you're 99% there, but at a home theater, you're at 100% there.
The only people I feel bad for are the preteens who have now lost their primary dating spot. Right? Like that's where you go to get out of the house and make out with your partner, right? That's where you guys meet up to do that. Now you're gonna have to get a little innovative here, but in terms of the art form, this is a good thing. I don't think anyone's gonna miss out. There are some theaters, right? The Alamo and then Century, or there's a place in Rialto Cinema where they have couches and you can order popcorn and alcohol and drink wine and pizza and all that. Like they've tried to modernize the experience, but you still have a lot of the bullshit trappings of just humanity. Humanity sucks, man. If I can limit my interaction with people as much as possible, like COVID has been a blessing in disguise. I don't have to make up an excuse why I can't hang out with you, Aaron.
It's right there. You just cough and I'll be like, oh, well, maybe next week.
Sorry. All right.
I think I love. Oh, wait, one last thing. There is one place in Walnut Creek called the Veranda that did that the drinks and the food in the movie theater and with the recliners and everything, and I love that. But that is the place. Even though I was the most comfortable, it impeded on the film like even more so than it would. And everyone in the crowd was, well, not quiet, but they were whispering like, "I'll have some fries and a burger."
Yeah.
Some nachos. And then like the waiter actually is like not army on the floor, but man, they're close. They're just like, what can I get you? It's
ordered the Riesling. This is room temperature. It's supposed to be slightly chilled. Like, yeah,
I went with family, and that's literally what my mom did. Like she was like,
dude, I can't. And then dude, so you know what I hate the most? Then I'll move on. I'm a big guy. I have to be very conscious of my surroundings. So when there's someone behind me kicking my chair, I'm like, should I say something, let it slide, or just fucking turn around and start swinging? Like, I don't understand what this is. Once, twice, but like the repeated thud, like I understand that might be a nervous, anxious tick that you're doing, but like this isn't
on some red vines.
Dude. Yeah. Let's talk about our honorable mentions. But before that, there are movies that I haven't seen that I want to see. One is Melancholia, which I heard was really good. I haven't seen it. It's on my watch list, but it's supposed to be sort of one of those backdrop Armageddon films, love story, sort of weird, trippy sort of film, starring Kirsten Dunst.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm curious if that's going to be good because I know Robert Pattinson has done well in other roles, but Kirsten Dunst I feel like is one note, but like turned up or turned down. You know what I mean?
The most she's been turned up, it was Interview with the Vampire, and that was when she was 9 or maybe younger. Dude, she was the young girl. I forget the vampire's name. Yeah, but she was turned by Brad Pitt, Louis. Another Brad Pitt reference. How many Brad Pitt references are we going to make today?
Hopefully more.
No, God! God!
Claudia, thank you. Claudia was her name. Yeah. Met an unfortunate, and I read the Anne Rice books. Claudia and Armand were like some of the most interesting characters in there for me. Anyway, that was like my coming. That was like my. I went from R.A. Salvatore to I grew up really cool. I went from Goosebumps to R.A. Salvatore to Anne Rice, then to Eric Reed, I believe the guy who wrote Evil 9 trilogy. But that's where she's been the most. And then you're absolutely right. In Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, she was just like she's Kirsten Dunst, She's just like,
I still need to see that one. I'm surprised she's in it. That's great. No.
Oh my God, Tiana, if you haven't seen that, add that to your list. Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. Jim Carrey playing a dramatic role brilliantly. Jim Carrey is one of the greatest dramatic actors on the planet. Fight me. You mentioned Robin Pattinson, and then I'll stop eating up the airwaves. The Rover is a movie that I want to see, as apparently an Australian apocalyptic film starring him being this grungy, grimy sort of dude.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's okay. Have you heard any good reviews on it? I'm not familiar.
I heard it was awesome, which is why I want to see it, because I really want to pull him out of this Twilight box before Batman comes out.
Whenever it comes out.
Whenever it comes out. Straight to HBO Max in 2022.
Oh, easily. I have honorable mentions, so I'll start with that, because some of them I was like, I'm curious if this is where we should go. What are you thinking?
Before you get to that, I got a question for you. Do happy endings in your apocalypse movie affect your enjoyment of them?
It depends. Yes, actually, but not. One of mine has an ending I don't like, but it's still in my top 5. So I do. But I see. Here's the thing. I think the good has to outweigh the bad on that one. If the ending comes up out of nowhere and in order to force it to be happy, that's a little frustrating.
Yeah, when they try to shoehorn that shit in.
And they build up all these rules in the beginning of it, and those rules don't line up when you just get to the happy part at the end. That's frustrating. If the happy ending makes sense, I'm okay with it. And especially if it's a happy ending for the characters, but they're still living in apocalypse. So it's like a win-lose kind of thing.
That's fair. I'd say that I'm kind of in that same boat, but like I prefer realistic endings to my apocalypse movies, which usually are in the negative. There is a happy ending one in mine, but mostly what piques my enjoyment of it is, will these characters during the course of this film make survival choices that I would have made? And what happens to them after that? I don't care. If the director essentially gives them inspiration and allows them to like take advantage on their fucking roles out of nowhere, then I'm gonna be pissed. But if like it's a happy ending and it just works, I'm all right with that. If I can go, oh yeah, okay, I can see that, I don't have a problem with that, then yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it has to be to get there.
If the last helicopter out of Saigon makes a U-turn and comes back to get you, like, fuck no, this movie's dog shit. Get out of here.
I got it.
Oh, look, it looks like we forgot that guy, right? What is that, Platoon? Like, yeah, no. Yeah. All right, what is your honorable mention?
Okay, Zombieland is one.
Zombieland's a good one.
I think it came out at a good time, and it had a great cast and some really strong humor. I haven't rewatched it since. I don't think it's I don't think you're on the floor laughing and bawling, but I think it is still pretty memorable, and the way they kind of set up and have their own style. I feel like it's that style seeded its way into other movies, with the text popping into screen all 3D. I could be wrong. There's definitely other movies that happened before that have done something like that, but it stood out for a reason.
Zombieland kind of played it like when Zombieland came out, they were riding this wave of like zombie genre shit. Zombies were having a moment when Zombieland came out, and they were it felt like the studios were gonna like capitalize on it and just be like, we're just gonna do this, we're gonna go over the top, and we're gonna have some fun. And I honestly enjoyed that.
The sequel was not memorable. It was funny that Thomas Middleditch played a lookalike to Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much the most fun I had in that movie, in Zombieland 2. Another shout out I got is Dawn of the Dead.
Okay. Well,
I remember enjoying the ride.
I was gonna remember the ending. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, I remember enjoying the ride to Dawn of the Dead, the remake, with Zack Snyder's, but I don't remember the ending. Like for some reason, I don't know how it all came together or didn't.
Yeah. Is that? Yep. So I remember Dawn of the Dead because it had Mekhi Phifer, and it's a totally forgettable movie. So you're not, wrong about that. But it's one of those, zombie movies are essentially COVID tests, right? If you don't want to wear a mask, you're kind of the same person who like wouldn't admit to being bit by a zombie. Like, let's not fucking own it, and then you would contaminate the rest of us. But Mekhi Phifer, his pregnant wife in that film, got bit, and he wound up protecting her and not telling everybody. Then she got turned into a zombie just as she was giving birth, and then had the zombie kid, and he was protecting the kid, and then he got into a gunfight with all these people. Basically, huge waste of resources. Your wife was bit. Like, dude, there are bigger things here going on. Like, fuck off. Also,
I can fix her. No.
Zombie movies piss me off because
Really?
fast zombies are slow zombies. We can have this philosophical debate, but the zombies here were fast, and they like responded to sensory input.
Yeah.
They didn't respond to gunshots, right? Because there was this guy just picking them off from a roof. They responded to like hearing you and smelling you, and it's so weird. So completely unrealistic. Fuck that movie.
I think the only thing about a zombie movie that helps me enjoy how many there are, like find one that's good, like versus Dawn of the Dead versus Shaun of the Dead, their approaches to zombies are just slightly tweaked. Like in Shaun of the Dead, they're actually, they can see you. They'll just go right after you and saunter after you. And it's a little more intimidating in that way, but also like, come on, you can walk that way. You're not going to encounter one if you walk that, like 30 miles, if you just brisk pace walk away from this thing, you'll be fine.
Yeah, basically. And I respect those zombie movies because then you have to be planning and methodical, but you can also screw yourself by walking into a situation where there's like a dead end. But I appreciate Shaun of the Dead for basically calling out all those things in the movies. In that way, like the camp and the whatever they call it. No, just when you make fun, the parody of it all is what I appreciate. The satire of it, yeah. Have you seen the movie 9?
Dude, with the puppet men people, tiny
Tim
doll
Burton?
thing?
Yep.
I cannot believe you mentioned that. Yeah, that's actually in there. That's in here.
That's on your list? Oh
yeah.
My God. That's
no, not the list.
Mention.
Honorable mentions, not my list though.
Yeah, okay. So we're spot on with this. This one deserves some discussion. So this puppeteer creates 9 dolls to embody the soul of humanity, and 9 is the one with innovation. Basically, each of these dolls and their twins or whatever have, have some specialty that they're supposed to help keep the spirit of humanity alive with, and they're just hell-bent on their own survival, and then machinery are hunting them, or something to that effect. But I just remember falling in love with the story of 9, and every once in a while I'll go back and I'll watch that trailer and I'll get nostalgic. I haven't seen it in years, but it's left such an impact on me. If you haven't seen 9, that is a watch, Tiana. Add that to your checklist.
It's a really good film, actually, and I can say that because I watched it with my family who didn't like it or enjoy it or get it at all when we saw it in theaters, and I would think we walked away and I was the only one being like, that was pretty good.
Well, you kind of grew up in a religious home, and it's got some like not dark connotations, but like definitely some implied religious stuff to it.
Yeah, it really does. And by the way, that trailer with Coheed and Cambrio's music is so good. Like, banana.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember. Okay, yeah.
So good. But fun fact, that was actually based off of like a short film from some film festival. I can't place the one it came from, but it actually got adapted from like a short film with the same kind of premise.
Yes, I remember that short film because the short film was the puppets were being cut up and cooked, and the puppet had to escape the kitchen, right? Was that it?
I never saw the short film.
I think that's the short film.
Huh.
Yeah. So yeah, I know what you're talking. So it's one of those things that I saw the movie, then went back to see the short film, like District 9. I saw the movie, then went back to see the District 9 short film is fucking phenomenal, by the way.
Oh shit, I gotta watch that. I didn't even know.
District 9, Tiana, add it to your list.
District 9 apocalypse movie?
No, it's more sci-fi. The world doesn't end. The world actually becomes a little bit larger when you realize you're not alone in the universe. So alien movies can be apocalypse movies. I don't want to spoil my top 5, but like it's, War of the Worlds is not in there. The Keanu Reeves version or the new one. As much as I love Keanu, Keanu played the basically the metal machinery alien destructor thing in the new one, I believe.
Do you mean wait the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds or Tom Cruise? I know he's in War of the Worlds, and then there's The Day the Earth Stood Still.
The Day the Earth
Keanu
Stood
Reeves.
Still. I'm sorry. Yes, The Day the Earth.
Got him.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. +1 for Aaron.
Well, because I saw that one, the Keanu Reeves, The Day the Earth Stood Still. I saw the remake. I didn't get it at the time. I didn't hate it. I did think, and I kind of remember some plot beats from it, but I don't know. I really didn't know how to feel about it when I walked away from it. You know?
Just fire off a few more of my honorable mentions. Edge of Tomorrow is
Yes.
an Armageddon movie, and it's also a time sci-fi movie. I love it. We got to talk about time dilation and time travel movies. Maybe go through our top 5, but Edge of Tomorrow would be in there if it was. It's also an apocalyptic movie because of an alien invasion. So I'm throwing that guy in there. It's not a traditional one. Planet of the Apes does not crack my top 5, but it is cricking his neck against the ceiling of the top 5. The entire Planet of the Apes saga,
Okay.
including the Mark Wahlberg remake.
No.
Yeah,
What?
yeah. Actually, they were like not bad. They were kind of true to form, honestly.
I don't. Oh, God, I'll
But
watch.
this whole
I'll give them a shot, but I highly doubt that.
the new Caesar one, like all these movies, like the Mark Wahlberg one is kind of like the MCU universe in terms of how they approach it, where the Caesar War of the Apes, Planet of the Apes one is like the dark Batman DC sort of style of Planet of the Apes storytelling. So that's probably why you either have a taste for one or the other.
Yeah.
But I think
I
the
feel-
entire thing.
Okay. My options between like my favorite is the first one, Rise of the naming of them is bad.
Mhm.
The new trilogy is the naming of them is bad. But the Rise of the Planet of
Rise
the
of
Apes,
Planet of the
like,
Apes. Yeah, that was
with
shot in
the-
San Francisco, I think. Yeah.
yeah, because I remember those monkeys like going across that bridge and beating like it was great. I was like, that was the time I could literally say I was at the edge of my seat. Like, oh, we're fucked.
That's also a good apocalypse movie telling, like, could this happen? Which is why I also put Signs in my honorable mention for apocalypse movies, because it's an apocalypse movie, but it has like an unreasonable happy ending, so it doesn't qualify. But like the way it plans out and people's reaction to the world events is exactly how I would envision it happening. But this like, oh, they're gonna travel across an ocean of stars and not be able to. They're gonna invade a planet made of 70% of the thing that they're corrosive to. So much so that the corrosion falls from the sky.
Oh my God!
And you don't have a contingency plan for that?
You're just
Fucking
gonna run on the
sometime-
planet naked.
Yeah, basically. Sometimes fucking I love M. Night, but I feel like that's a concession he made to a studio.
I don't know. He focuses his fears around water a lot. Lady in the Water. I know there's an Bruce Willis in Unbreakable. He drowns different times throughout the series. It could have been studio or it could have been M. Night. I don't know either way.
I don't know if you have any more. I'm going to keep going. Then you get I Am Legend was a solid one. I loved Will Smith in it. It takes a turn from the book, but it's still solidly told. And it has sort of like a preemptive animation aspect to it, where I Am Legend focuses on Will Smith in New York, but in like the prequel animations, it shows what's happening in China, in Latin America, in India, like the panic that ensues in prisons across the US. And it's absolutely insane. And all of it, I feel like, is like, damn, someone put some serious thought into this. I can see that happening, with the exception of them being like these mindless zombies. Whereas in the book, they turn into this other thing, essentially like vampires, and they start to form a society. And then Will Smith, his character, is basically the boogeyman, right? Because he's coming out and hunting them where they sleep, right? So they're like trying to lure him out with sex and stuff, but they know where he's like holed up and walled up, and it's crazy.
I have to watch that. I haven't seen that, and I missed
Tiana.
it. You know, I missed the boat.
Add it to your list, Tiana. I Am Legend. I
Gotta
got
share that.
two more. I'm gonna stop. Legion. I don't know if you've seen Legion. It's kind of a religious Armageddon movie. It's literally about the rapture in the last days. Saint Michael or whoever blows his horn.
I
You
only
Gabriel
remember.
comes down, and it's like an invasion because this woman's kid is gonna usher in the apocalypse, and the good guys are the ones like hunting the baby. Anyway.
I think I remember that movie. I didn't remember that that's why they were hunting them. That's a really cool premise. I think it was cool, but the most I remember out of it was like the scene where the grandma goes like, "What?" And then she just like turns into like a spider kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she's trying to shotgun her off this roof and shit.
I love the scene where she's in there and she's eating the rawest prime rib steak I've ever seen. It's basically still bleeding. And she's like being this sweet old lady. And she's like, you know, your child is gonna burn in hell, right? And then everyone in the restaurant is like, what the fuck what did you just say, old bitch? Like, get out of my store. Yeah, she basically starts going into this like demonic rant, and that's when she climbs over the walls and all that crazy shit. The last one on my honorable mention list, and then we can get into this top 5 after Aaron talks about his honorable mention, Book of Eli.
Ah.
I had a lot of problems with this film because of the huge gap in plot. Shot well told. Mila Kunis almost ruined it for me, but I thought it was an amazing story. Gary Oldman and Denzel together were able to basically lift it to the stratosphere. Gary Oldman as the villain from Fifth Element to this is crazy. What was the plot?
He plays a good villain. But yeah, no, what was the plot hole? Because I don't remember what the flaw in it was. Maybe that he remembered the entire book.
Big spoiler alert. Never seen it. Eli, Denzel Washington character, is blind. And the copy of the book that he's carrying is a Braille copy of the Bible, which everyone wants because the world war that ended it was a religious world war, grounded in reality up until now, right? So essentially he's like this like nomadic missionary walking from place to place trying to find a home for this book, but he's blind. Why in God's name, knowing the condition of the road, would you walk during the day? Why not sleep during the day and hide and walk at night? It doesn't make any difference to you. You're fucking blind. Whoa! Not to be, you know, disrespectful to disparage the differently abled, but in terms of like
Denzel Washington isn't literally blind.
He's not. Yeah, you avoid half of the conflict, more than half of the conflict, if you just fucking walk at night.
Huh? That's brilliant.
I get it. God works in mysterious ways. You know, he's guiding his hand and all this fucking bullshit. Come on, man.
Maybe.
How many people did you have to kill in this journey that could have avoided it if you just walked at night?
That would have been a more fascinating thing too, because at least in some scenes, like he would have the advantage over anyone else. I like that a lot.
It wouldn't give anything away. It would make sense. And then it ups the tension when he does encounter people, right? But now I have to go back after the disclosure in the end of the film to figure out, like, wait, he totally fired that gun at that guy from 50 yards and hit him. And then like he was like he took a shot at a guy on top of a building before the guy even like shot at him first, and he nailed the guy. I was just like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Even outside of all of that in my head screaming at me, I thought it was enjoyable. No, that's true.
I enjoyed the ride, but now that you mention that, I'll never unsee that if I watch it again.
Hef brought up a good point. You know, blind people still have circadian rhythm, right? Like they still are set by the sun and the night. I would think it's like a strategic survival thing. I would travel at night in my condition right now. I would, you know, I wouldn't go about fucking walking there. Why would I take the chances?
Yeah, when I could afford it, I was definitely more nocturnal whenever I could have the day or the night to myself.
I've totally cannibalized this, and I apologize, Aaron. You still have honorable mentions?
I guess. You piece of Fred.
No, go ahead.
I like that we overlapped some, because 9 was on my honorable mentions. This Is the End, as a Shaun of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Edge of Tomorrow was on my honorable mentions. That would have made the top 5, because also I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan, and this was like, and Edge of Tomorrow is based on a manga, and it had such good monster creature design. Like the design of those aliens don't look like they should work, but you can see the physicality, like they're just kind of whipping balls of like metal and shrapnel, but it doesn't look bad. And you feel like that something like an effect that fluid would break over time. It would just like look like a CGI mess. I love those creature designs. They look great, and the fact that they did like a play on time was amazing. Mm-hmm. But again, that movie breaks its own rules by the end of it. In order to save the day, Tom Cruise, spoilers, but if anyone looks it up, it's either Edge of Tomorrow or Live Die Repeat. It got renamed somewhere in production.
Edge of Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, those bastards. It's Edge of Tomorrow. But at the end of the movie, the day sets at the beginning. Was it in the helicopter? It's been a while since I saw it, but it seemed like the day set when he died at the beginning. But when he destroyed the cube or whatever their heart, the alien heart was, whatever it was, the hive mind, the core of it, when he destroyed that, the day restarted, but now the alien threat wasn't there anymore. But the day was the same, but the aliens weren't there because the aliens knew about the time travel.
They knew he would come for them eventually.
I guess I just would have been fine with the death in that movie. That's what it should have been. I feel like that was the movie where a death would have helped the plot and the impact of the world, because the fact that he was the only one experiencing the time travel, the aliens causing it, that makes sense. I'm fine with that. I just wish he didn't have to go back in time in order to do that, in order to save the world. The death added a lot more, in my opinion.
I think in terms of like a timeline movie, I'm trying to poke holes in it. They do a really good job of tying that together, only because it does make sense if inevitably on a long enough time scale, the likeliness of something happening goes from 0 to 1, right? Like even if there's a small percentage chance it is going to happen, it's probably going to happen if you're doing it forever. And they give no indication of how long Tom Cruise has been repeating the day, right? In my mind, I feel like he's reset millions of times. And I think they didn't indicate how many times, but he had so many different iterations that it was kind of implied. But I feel like if you reset that many times, you'd be way more beat down, right? Like I don't know.
No, I agree. Because you're right. They never said like how many times it was, but you could tell by him guessing other people's sentences, like as they're speaking, he had to live it enough to remember the entire day from beginning to end. At least I would. But
Oh my God!
So wait, what was the second point of that?
That in those millions of times, he finds them, right? At a certain, so like over the course of like the graph of like what you try in The Edge of Tomorrow, right? When you first realize you have this power, you like try to win the war, and then you realize it's futile. So then you go into this depression, but then depression gets boring. And then you're like, well, if I'm going to be here, I might as well figure out how to end it. So then you get your second wind of trying to, that's like millions of like with that deviation chart is millions of iterations.
I bet, yeah, because there's at some point in the movie where he has failed attempts, and I thought he was making fun of it. It almost felt like Tom Cruise's Groundhog Day.
Yes. Tom Cruise's Groundhog Day? Bill Murray?
That was him. No. I mean, like Bill Murray
this is his version
Groundhog
of it.
Day as to Tom Cruise is to
what?
this.
I would have loved to see Bill Murray in Edge of Tomorrow as instead of Tom Cruise. I think Tom Cruise did a great job.
I thought you were going to see Bill Murray as a drill sergeant. That was for Tom Cruise.
So what he's saying, yeah, you're going to die anyway. It's all right. Yeah, the drill sergeant is the one who's like resetting, and he just doesn't care enough to train anybody. It's like, this is futile. Tom Cruise is really good at selling fictional stakes, right? When he sits down on that gurney and he's like, there's something, you got to believe me, your life depends on it. I'd have been like, fuck, all right, what do I got to lose? This guy has seen some shit. Let's see what he says. One thing I'm glad you didn't say in your honorable mention, I don't know, it's not over yet. You didn't say World War Z, and you didn't say Resident Evil.
Yeah, for good reason.
Okay.
World War Z is awful.
We also didn't mention Planet Terror, which was Quentin Tarantino's. It's an apocalypse zombie movie. Bruce Willis, Rose McGowan, all the people that Tarantino usually brings in on a film. But yeah, that's, I don't know.
Was that before Pulp Fiction?
Because that was after Pulp Fiction.
Huh. I'm gonna check that out. I can't believe I didn't know.
Oh my God, yeah, it's really good. It's when Tarantino did that whole like grindhouse thing where you're basically sitting in it was an homage to like old school theater going, where you sat in the theater for 6 hours, right? He gave you an intermission, and then you had to come back to your seat, because then at first it was Planet Terror, then it was Grindhouse, which was like this Kurt Russell drive car villain thing. Yeah. If the movie theater industry dies, I'm not going to protest.
I'm hoping Grindhouse comes back because of it, actually. There's some good ones.
What else is in your honorable mention?
These ones were so... Oh, wait, another Tom Cruise one is Oblivion, if you have seen that.
I haven't. I know the memes, but I have not.
Yeah. I may have missed them or forgot them.
You just did the meme. Wait, what?
I subconsciously did it, then remembered it. I recommend that movie, though. Regardless, I think that movie, from beginning to end, it holds up. Like with its, there might be some scientific thing I'm not thinking of,
I think I know the plot.
I liked the basis of that movie. And
Okay.
it's great because you don't assume it's apocalyptic when you first see it, but as it goes on, you're like, it raises more questions and answers them in such an interesting way. I really had a lot of fun with that one. Another one is, I wanted to count The Matrix. It's not in my top 5, but I wanted to count that. The first one, just the first one, only the first one.
Wow. Okay. It is an apocalyptic movie.
Yeah. I mean, and they're living through it either way. And I think it still works because there's at the end of it, they're still stuck in it.
Well, now we've jumped into the top 5, working backwards. Spoiler, I did this to you. You doing it. I did this to you for the other one. You're doing this to me now. So I'm going to just start and say The Matrix was my number 1 apocalypse movie.
Oh my
God.
Wow.
Because of, the potential. It's kind of outlandish in that sort of future. The point that we can evolve to have AI autonomously run and do all that sort of Terminator stuff is optimistic. Any sci-fi movie is optimistic in that it gives us any future at all, right? Like, look at the state of the world we're in right now. Like, if we get to the Matrix, there's going to be nobody happier than me. With that said,
they're starting that process with cows from what I've seen online. They're putting cows in VR.
So that they produce better milk. Yeah.
Yeah.
But The Matrix is mostly a sci-fi film, but it qualifies as an apocalypse film because outside of The Matrix, outside of VR, that's a grim reality. Basically, you're a pest on this planet run by machines. Now, everything that happens inside, I had some problems with Zion, but for the most part, the world that The Matrix creates, pretty compelling, pretty interesting. I can't wait to see what they do with the new one that they recently shot in the Bay Area. I have no idea where they're going to take that story.
Last I heard, it's coming out on HBO Max too, isn't that?
Probably.
No, I'm not. I'm actually not kidding. I thought I saw that in the article that was under their roster of movies that they could release. So the new Matrix, I think, is going to be released in theaters the same day with HBO Max.
No shit.
From what I heard last, I thought it's going to, I don't know if Michael B. Jordan is still a part of it, but I thought it was going to be a prequel to Morpheus, with Morpheus. That's what I heard. Prequel with Morpheus. That's what I heard, but I could be wrong. They could have changed the script since then.
They might have some flashbacks in there, but like Keanu is still the star and he's only aging. Are they going to do like CGI youthfulness does it come to him in a vision? So The Matrix also has an expanded gaming universe, which does this Star Wars thing, and it keeps everything in line. Spoiler, after the events of the last Matrix, Morpheus dies. Morpheus gets killed by basically a Merovingian type program, which is the basis of the game, right? Neo goes on to wake up more people, and you are one of the NPCs that they wake up. So it was an MMORPG. It was actually a really badass MMORPG that I'm upset that they got rid of. I played it all in college, but it was still a part of the Matrix storyline. Had all the characters in it, all that stuff.
I'm hesitant going forward because I'm like, I hope they still keep it in line. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they will. At this point, why would you break it off? They definitely want to do a Star Wars-esque thing with The Matrix. Otherwise, why breathe fresh air into it? It's also a good time to capitalize on Cyberpunk and Keanu Reeves's, having a moment right now, right? Keanu Reeves just kind of came back.
We're just cycling through genres.
This is how we do it. All right. So now that I've spoiled my top one, maybe we'll get back to it. We're killing some time here. But what is let's go back to the base. What is your number 5?
I'll never tell you what my top one is. No, I'm kidding. My 5 at the bottom of this list, I'd say, is Independence Day. I put it there because it was really, there's some funny moments to it, and the logic isn't 100% sound throughout, but it's way more sound than the sequel.
Didn't even want to waste my time seeing it. Nope.
It really was a waste of time. It was hilarious. Like, there's a ball of milk that tells them they're gonna be destroyed or something. It's floating. It's really weird. It's not. And then there's like, Jeff Goldblum? No, someone's old dad. Yeah. Okay. Someone's dad. I think his dad was like in a small boat, riding really fast away from like a giant tsunami. That's embarrassment. The fact that is your sequel, you're going to number 5. But Independence Day itself did a lot of that speech. I can't remember his name, but the speech with the president. We will not go quietly in the night.
We will not go quietly. Everyone wants that president, but to get that president, you've got to have an Independence Day level event. Can you imagine? Donald, don't believe the things you see in the sky. All right, we've got a defense. It's going to be great. All right, now I'm going to go into this bunker. You guys just tell me.
Aliens don't exist. White House still blows up.
Independence Day is my number 4. So now we're taking chunks out of mine. So we'll go through yours
Okay.
and I'll snack on whatever is left. But Independence Day was number 4 on my list because I love a good dogfight. The plane fighting the aliens, and then that's kind of the pull I had. Yeah, welcome to Earth. So this alien crash lands in an alien spaceship going Mach 3, and then Will Smith, your overhand right to its head, knocks it out as you drag it through the desert, right? You hit it in the face. Basically, it's in armor. You hit it in the face while it's wearing its armor, and you knock it out. That's a crazy right hand, man. You should have been a boxer.
And did you see? He was Ali. Did you? And can you see like the alien head? Like it looked massive. That alien's head was somewhat of a Predator ripoff, but it was also half of Will Smith's upper body. Like, so he would have like broke his wrist by punching that thing. I don't care how fit he looked at the time. But
in fact, how long, if an alien landed on this planet, how long would it take us to intercept a signal and translate language, even with like cryptic supercomputers? This is why I had a problem with The Arrival.
I was about to say, well, how come? Because that kind of works, in my opinion, with The Arrival. But I feel like it would take months. Did it not take months in The Arrival?
I think it took a long time, but I don't know how long it took. In Independence Day, it took like a week.
Yeah.
Not only a week. Not only were they able to figure out its language, but they were also able to figure out how to fucking program its ship. Like they learned its language and its coding language. And this thing just happened to have like a USB port, right? Like that's fucking great.
Oh, thank God. It works on floppy disks.
Hef basically says it depends on the language, right? Fair. We have written depictions of Sumerian language and, ancient Greek. We have no idea what that language sounds like because there's no one around to phonetically tell us, like, this is what this means. This is how this is pronounced. There's like, if you don't have that, I guess, Rosetta Stone of audio, there's no way you're not going to be able to speak that language, either with a computer simulation or like, yeah. So that's the problem that I also have with the Alien fucking movie where they meet the engineer. Anyway,
Arrival.
The Alien one. Good.
So that one's 5 for me. Well, what's your 5 though?
My 5 is Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, not Mad Max Fury Road. Beyond Thunderdome with Mel Gibson and Tina Turner. Dude, I love that movie. I quote it all the time. Master Blaster and Tina Turner have some of the best lines in movie history. And when basically the Lord of the Flies children tell the story of what happened or what they think happened to their civilization, like it's so fucking entertaining to see this like Fallout style rebuilding of civilization. True, Arrival was pictorial. There was no verbal communication. So even that took months to decipher. But back to Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Dude, so many amazing characters in this film that I just like, it's left an impression on me. I feel some type of way when people otherwise quoted. When Rick and Morty did the throwback to it, I fell in love. In high school, we used to do this Thunderdome drill, which is basically this big hula hoop, and it's basically sumo for offensive and defensive linemen. And you'd stand around, and the idea was either put the other guy on their ass or push him out of the circle. And the entire time we were chanting, 2 men enter, 1 man leave, 2 men enter, 1 man leave.
I've heard of that, but I actually haven't even seen that Mad Max. I've seen Fury Road, and I've seen highlights from the originals, just things on YouTube, but I honestly haven't, and I'm fascinated by that.
So if I remember correctly, Fury Road was a prequel to Beyond Thunderdome, taken out of context, right? Like, so Tina Turner's character, I believe, if I remember correctly, Tina Turner's character is one of the girls in white, Zoe Kravitz's character, and eventually that character goes back to lead that town that they run from, and that becomes like Bartertown, right? It's something to that effect.
I'm trying to remember if the town where like Joe is in charge of.
Parador, yeah. I believe.
I had no idea. Like that. That's why I liked that. Was an honorable mention for me with Fury Road, because I was like, I didn't have to know anything about it prior in order to feel like I could enjoy this ride. But that's fascinating if it was actually in the timeline in that one. I'm really curious.
Yeah, I think that helped a lot of people sort of ease into it, because Mad Max was kind of like a cult classic sort of thing where like it hadn't been brought into like modern era, just kind of something that like indie movie nerds quoted to each other every once in a while. And my favorite rule of Bartertown is break a deal, spin the wheel. break a deal, spin the wheel. Who run Barter Town? They had this big enforcer. I'm not going to go into it. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome is my number 5. Independence Day, the Will Smith original, is my number 4. Aaron, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is a little thing I like to call Armageddon with Bruce Willis.
All right, we're gonna do another one because Armageddon is my number 2. Down the list. So the Matrix is number 1. Yeah. And Matrix is my number 1. Armageddon's my number 2. That's awesome.
Okay, sweet. I chose Armageddon because it was not 100% realistic. Like, I don't think we can actually land on a meteor as it's going. I've only seen. Can we? I mean, maybe at this point, but back then, could we?
Yes. There's that.
I don't know.
You know what?
I saw it in a lot of cartoons. That's why I was like, this can't be that.
Got the Martian vibe. If your livelihood depended on you landing on this meteor, humans would figure out how to fucking do it. We wouldn't waste resources to send one attempt. We'd be firing off people every other day to get this right. You know what I'm saying?
We have so many dead.
Yeah. We wouldn't put all our eggs in one basket.
I think it's a fantastic apocalypse movie. And it's one of the ones, not only did it surprise me, well, okay, it made me cry at the end. Like, I actually teared up when, not like fully like bawling, but it made me tear up, especially when Ben Affleck and his girl, Liv Tyler, are reunited again, you know, at the expense of good old Bruce. But I was most surprised that from him, like, as he's saying goodbye.
Yeah. But this also came out when we were younger. Like, we were just getting to understand what, like, art can draw out of emotions, of the emotions art can draw out of us. So, like, I got teary-eyed watching it. Oh my God, are they really gonna leave it behind? Also, good call out from Thomas. You want to land on an asteroid, not a meteor, because by the time it becomes a meteor, it's too late. It's already in our atmosphere. Right? You want to land on the asteroid as it travels through space. My favorite scene in this entire movie is Michael Clark Duncan in the operating room dancing on a gurney in a leopard print bikini. That was fucking great. I don't know how, if you're on set, you're not rolling around laughing at that. Like,
that's like the fun moments like Michael Bay can pull out of people when get along. I guess I just didn't expect him get any emotional, you know, like to spend anything emotional on this movie because it was from Michael Bay. So I guess that's why it also surprised me, and I was like, oh my God, don't leave him.
Comedy can do that in short order, right? Like, it'll, you know, if something makes you laugh, you're kind of endeared to them, and you're like hoping for a good outcome. You're like, yeah, I get this person. Because trying to add global stakes to something very few people can do, and Michael Bay obviously nails, is hard. And then being on the set design for Armageddon was really bad. It has not held up, right? When you watch them on the meteor, whatever his name is, riding the fucking...
Oh, Steve Buscemi?
Steve Buscemi riding the rocket. The Russian was my favorite character. No way I go back to home country. Tell them that I did not take this opportunity. No way.
That's also why it's not higher on my list, because some of those, the set design, I like that it was practical and it felt like they were actually smashing through other stuff, so that I wasn't drawn out at that part. But when they're standing and they're like, we're drilling right now, that looks like the perfect stage spot. I don't know how if you green screen it, it's going to stand out even more. So I guess that was the best maybe he could do at the time.
I appreciate him for taking that into account, because he probably knew that green screen films don't really stand up the test of time.
Also, I wouldn't rate it higher because, like, it bounces around a lot with its comedy. Like, you know, when you can hear a director's voice through the characters, like, no matter who the character is, it kind of felt like that way the second we got to, like, the miners, like, steal whatever their actual ship, their rig, when their first introduction, it felt like all of them were Michael Bay just being like, I don't give a fuck, just do your job, idiot. You're an idiot, you piece of shit. You know, like, I love you, you dumb fuck. Like, it just kept bouncing around between them all. I still enjoyed it, and it worked because they were miners, like, who just, you know, like, comfortably spoke that way, and they all came from New York, I guess, and just chilling. But it was, I don't know, that's probably why it's not like emotionally that strong until the very end. And you're like, oh my God, they're about to lose someone. But before that, you know, you're seeing Steve Buscemi like ride a missile like a horse or a rocket, and you're supposed to be like, and I was like, why is he acting so stupid? And then they immediately explain it right after. Oh my God, he's got space madness. And I'm like, oh, I guess I can accept that, but he's still being
Yeah. Well, So that the stakes in that too. So like Gravity had those stakes. One of the movies that I love that had those was Mission to Mars. Honestly, like a Don Cheadle film where like they come in contact with aliens and tells them the story of how the aliens seeded our planet and like they're trying to get back to the ship in time for this thing to do, right? The nuclear detonators, all that stuff. This one guy is on the ship and he's sweating his ass off because they're like, if we're not back in like 5 hours, you take off without us. And like the countdown timer is there, and for 5 hours he's just like, this is Rover 1, anybody there? And he's just like crying. And he's like 5 minutes over and he finally hears someone talk to him. He's like, I'm sorry, Warren isn't here. He left for Earth 5 minutes ago. Yeah, I just those moments have to have that comedy. Otherwise, it's really grim.
The whole
I'm a
on
fan
the whole
of that. On the whole.
Yeah, but it's got so much levity thrown into it because like I feel like I remember their funny moments more than I remember the grim moments.
If you don't, yeah, for sure. Because if you don't have those moments in the film, then this becomes you're watching a math problem being solved, right? And then it becomes just a love story.
Where you can kind of coming. Maybe that's also. I mean, I guess I don't know why I didn't expect someone to die in it, but no one important because none of the major actors is what I meant. Like at the time, they were top bills.
In the 2000 of movie making, you could still sort of do the red shirt sort of guess of like, okay, so that character's axe, that character's probably gonna die. In Armageddon, the first time I saw it, I was even being young, I was like, okay, clearly not everybody's returning back from this mission. So who is it? And I, like the trope of they're gonna kill a black dude. I know it. It's just gonna happen. So I might as well get used to it. To it now.
Or the weird expendable dude.
yeah, that's my number 2. That's your number 4 or 3?
That one's my 3.
All right. I guess I go to my number 3, The Road.
Really?
Yeah. Have you seen it?
I had a very uncomfortable experience with that one too. Watched it with family.
What a mistake that turned out to be, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And I put this up here because of the grimness of it. I didn't read the book. My friend keep telling me to read the book, but it's actually like the most uplifting part of the movie is in the beginning, right? When the thing goes wrong and he's in the window, he's like, oh my God. And he just starts running the water in the house to like just get as much drinkable, potable water as he can. I have no idea what he was looking at. I assume like nuclear war. I have no clue. But the idea that he set out in The Road with was basically the visuals of The Road itself. I thought was awesome. Charlize Theron, her character I had a problem with because I have a hard time thinking that you would leave somebody so young behind, especially your own kid, to fend for itself with the dad. And then to be like upset at Vigo for, she basically blamed him for bringing a child into Armageddon, which I can see being very, very burdensome. But I don't see the choice. This is the problem that I had with it, right? The choice of leaving the kid and selfishly, like they were talking about resources. They didn't have enough resources to survive. So she basically walked off into the night and never seen again.
I remember mainly the main character just struggling throughout the entire film. Like there was not a moment where he was happy. I remember him flashing back to him and his wife a lot. I also didn't get a lot of the nuance of it because of just the tension outside of the movie.
Dude.
So when it got to the end, I was like thrown off by how sad it was. I forgot how depressing the ending was. Maybe I repressed that.
Actually, I kind of don't remember.
I could have sworn it was him giving off his last bit of food after some realization to this other starving family, and he didn't take any for himself. And I guess it was just him letting go. Now that I'm looking back, but I can't. Yeah, I don't remember exactly how it played out. I feel like there was a beach in there.
And so the end of the film, towards the end, he went to the ship to scrounge for supplies, and he left his son unattended, which I was like, are you fucking kidding me? On the beach to sleep. At that point, Michael Williams, as another rogue character, came in and stole all their stuff. Didn't kill the kid, which I feel like is a great, like, in that scenario, that's courtesy. You know what I mean? So
that was the studio. Please don't do that.
Yeah, there was probably some discussion in there. I don't know what the book had, but that was probably some like, we can't have him killing a kid on camera. Anyway, the dad came back and wound up chasing Michael Williams on the road in like this long, You remember that chase scene? And he finally catches up to him. He chases him down for his stuff, and he catches
Yeah.
up to him, and he's got a gun, and he's begging him. So Viggo Mortensen leaves him naked with no stuff,
I do
and
remember that.
he's about to kill him. And his son he's begging him. He's crying. He's like, "Please don't kill me. I'm just trying to survive." And his son is like, "Dad, don't do it." But Viggo is so pissed that I won't spoil it. But yeah, that scene left the bigger impression in me in that movie. Tiana, add The Road to your list. You need to be in the right mood to watch that.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's probably not a 2020 movie to watch.
Oh my God, it's your
You know what I mean?
preparation. If you want to prepare, it is your movie to watch. If you want to get an idea of what we can go into, The Road is what you need to watch.
Pre-game.
The relationship he had with his son, I thought was great because he didn't there was no place to coddle his son. And you could tell that in the way that they communicated, but also when they walked into the barn and the people were hanging from the rafters, right? The people basically hung themselves. And the son was like, "Why did they do this, Dad?" And Vigo was like, "You know why. Like, come on. Like, don't be stupid. Like, life is hard. You know why they did it."
Just you have to know.
Yeah.
At this point, what we're going through.
So The Road is my number 3 movie, and I thought it was a great apocalyptic film.
Was that my number 4? Anyway,
what do you have
next up on the list? I put 28 Days Later with the actor who played Scarecrow. I'm remembering it. I'm trying to remember his name. I love him. He's a gem. I love that movie because, I don't know, the production, it doesn't seem like it's that good. Oh, wait, no, it does when you're looking at the town and the city and some cars are kind of just like left there. I'm trying to remember if cars were like flipped over as well. But the way with the quality it's shot in is so grainy. It should be distracting and awful. But for me, I don't know, it helped bring me into the world. And I saw Walking Dead first and then I went back to this and I kind of felt like this is what it should have been. Like, this is how concise and how quick it needed to be in order for it to be a good, compelling story, because it opened up pretty quickly. I don't know. I like how simple it opened up with just him in the hospital and then leading out, and you see the world as he's going through it. I love those approaches.
I'm always really, really curious, maybe less so about this movie than some of the shots that they got of like, how do you I'm very familiar with the bridge outside of British Parliament, like how you can totally lock down that bridge midday to make it look dilapidated and like steal these shots basically to give this like apocalyptic British sort of thing is beyond me. So that's what I'm more in awe of, that because this movie wasn't even on my register.
I remember seeing it. I saw it pretty recently in the past 2 years, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I felt like it was a really thrilling kind of zombie movie if you have to go that direction, but the zombies weren't the focus. I like when it switches to the humans being like the major enemy. It often does, but for this one, it surprises you when you're on edge. Of course, you're in the apocalypse and you're like, should I trust them all the way? But then you get, me personally, I got lulled into it. I was like, yeah, well, they're probably fine. And then it just takes a hard right. Yeah, we don't have a way to procreate. We're like, oh, fuck. Like, we have to get out of here now. Like, it sucked. Like, and it could have gotten way worse. And I feel like I don't know, a different director, a more, I don't know who directed this actually, but someone
Danny
would have
Boyle.
really.
Yeah, it's Danny Boyle, as Hef pointed out, I believe Hef pointed out. Yeah, so Danny Boyle is a really good storyteller. One of my favorite films, Slumdog Millionaire, is kind of like that, like it all comes together at the end. But 127 Laters is also that like one man sort of like dire situation again. Right, like this, you're on your own with your wits. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do? And Danny Boyle tells that story really well. So I like him as a director. I don't have this on my list, but I'm gonna shoehorn another one in because you've been cannibalizing mine.
You got?
One Cloverfield Lane was really good.
Really?
Yeah. It's one of those films that the apocalypse is the backdrop, right? What's happening in the bunker is the story, and the apocalypse sets the mood for why they're in this this prison.
This is just a shout out, or this is your next one?
This is a shout out. Because I believe that mine are done. I got Mad Max at 5, Independence Day at 4, The Road at 3, Armageddon at 2, and then The Matrix at number 1.
Nice. List that movie again. I don't know why I just brain farted.
One Cloverfield Lane.
Again, that's one of the movies where it works for me up until the very end. Like, that ending comes out of fucking nowhere. And I know that's because it's the production studio like really jammed their thoughts into how it should end so they could make it work. But that's one of the times where the studio jumping in really hurts a product.
You can kind of get that impression that that's what they did, especially like the last 15 minutes. Yeah.
What's your feelings on that one versus the original Cloverfield? I'm curious. I never saw the original.
Yeah, same here. But I'm like super familiar with the original, like the original story and all the pretense of it, and the war happening in the major cities, and this thing coming out of nowhere, kind of Blair Witch, like this monster of like what the fuck is happening.
TJ Miller's in it for some reason.
But I think like it's really hard to sell massive world-ending events in a film but like if you can make it the lore of what's happening outside of your bubble, like that's a compelling story to me. And also doesn't cost a lot, right? Because like at Thomas's studio, we could shoot an apocalyptic movie. The world around us is going crazy, but like in reality, we're in a bunker and it's just the four of us, right? You can make a box office picture out of that. That entire movie happened on basically like a tiny set. Right, 4 rooms occupy that movie. 4 rooms.
Yeah, I remember because it like was announced out of nowhere. Like no one knew a sequel was even being thought of. It originally wasn't, but they kept it under wraps. So they did such a good job with that one up until the end.
Resurgent, right? Like after the artist. And Roseanne. He's really good.
There's another movie I'm trying to remember where he's like neighbors in some apartment of a writer, and he just plays like the bad guy in that one too. He just goes insane. John Goodman is an excellent villain with the right script. I mean, I haven't seen him with the bad one, but
yeah, no shit. Yeah, I have no idea what movie you're talking about, but whatever.
Okay, next up on the list, we got Snowpiercer.
I have not seen it. It's on my list.
Highly recommend Snowpiercer. Okay. I feel like they built a world within just a train and an apocalypse movie in how like basically most of what's left of the earth is on this train. That won't ruin it for you, but that's they described that early on. But that is pretty much how it goes. And I really love a lot of the shots that they do in the train and outside of it to give you the perspective of it. So you really do have like it's a train, but you have a good mental map of like where is what in each part of the train and how they're trying to work their way through it or live in it.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I think it works from a lot of different angles and the story doesn't confuse you, but it pulls you in as you see how they're living in the conditions that they're living in order to survive.
I always love a good class struggle, and I also love apocalyptic movies, and I definitely wanted to see Chris
Evans,
Captain America, Chris Evans play not Scott Pilgrim, not high school teen movie, not I just definitely wanted to see this. It's just one of those things I'm like, today? Nah, not today. I'm gonna go back to watching Seinfeld reruns instead.
I just got into that.
Is that your top 5 or do you have one more?
I think, did I only list 4? Someone tell me. Hefner said such a bad show right as I said that. So, perfect timing.
Seinfeld is an amazing show. The best show ever made, by the way. So we're gonna end that conversation.
Its spread, its comedy is unique. There's so many shows that try to do the format up.
I'm biased. I grew up in New York City. I love that show. We'll work backwards. All right. We're going to talk from 5 down. I'm going to start, then you're going to go, and then we're going to recap and close this out. Let's 5, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. What's your 5?
Independence Day.
Cool. Independence Day is my number 4. What's your 4?
Armageddon.
My number 3 is The Road.
Okay. Mine was 28 Days Later.
All right. My number 2 was Armageddon.
And then my next one was Snowpiercer. Okay.
All right. And then my number 1. That was your number 1? You only had 4.
I only had 4. I have one more though. Because this one I'm contemplating on, but I know it's my favorite on this list.
All right. My number 1 was The Matrix. As an apocalyptic movie, I got The Matrix at number 1. What's your number 1?
My number 1, right above Snowpiercer, is Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
That's a good choice. That's a solid choice.
It is. Oh yeah, you don't even know it's apocalyptic. I mean, from the intro you do, but
shot in Fremont.
Really? What?
Cyberdyne Industries is in Fremont. Yeah.
Oh my god. I want to go there now.
We're closer. Yeah, I've actually been to that industrial park.
Have you been in what was that alley that the truck was driving through?
Oh, I don't know. I think some of those was shot in LA, but the corporation that they used to show Cyberdyne is in Fremont, because some of the scenes, especially like Thomas is saying, is clearly the East River Aqueduct, right? The chase scenes and the motorcycle and all that shit. But the actual building, why they would come all the way up here to use this building, I have no fucking clue. But Terminator 2, classic movie.
It has.
I respect that choice.
Nice, I've earned it. It has such a footing in film history, and everything that's tried to be as good as Terminator 2, like this is a testament to how good it is. Every sequel after has tried to do the same thing that Terminator 2 has done, and it doesn't work. Like if you know what's coming, it's not. Well, it does for Terminator 2. I've seen that multiple times, but if you try to recreate it, it's just lightning in a bottle. You really can't. It's not nearly as satisfying with anyone else, no matter how good the effects get.
They fucked up with their Terminator technology. They couldn't top the villain in Terminator 2 with the liquid. I'm sorry, you can't make it more resilient and smart alloys. What they should have done was essentially like Transmetropolitan in the Mysterio sort of drones thing. That's what they should have made the villain out of, right? This tiny micro bot as opposed to a liquid. Basically a fog of machinery is what they should have done.
Here's one funny thing I liked is that in Terminator Salvation, they like had really cool designs for how the machines would evolve or change for different tasks that Skynet needed, you know? So some of them were actual like scavengers or like kind of motorcycles that were just automatic. Some of them were giant, like kind of just colossal machine humanoid kind of forms, but they were made for solely just carrying like all of these trucks of humans. I guess maybe a giant robot isn't the most efficient form of using all of your metals in the apocalypse. But I'm not saying Terminator Salvation is a good movie. I'm just saying I think you're right. They couldn't top it.
The Matrix has flaws. We want to talk about science and logistics. Any biped sort of machinery is a waste of resources. Why wouldn't you put treads on it, right? Like walking is extremely evolutionarily inefficient. And you feel like a machine learning would figure out that like there's probably a better, more resilient way to get around. Or maybe like 4 legs, right? Like a Minotaur robot if you want to be humanoid. Why would they create foot soldiers that have such vulnerabilities? Like, I don't understand it. And also the idea that the computers are going to wake up and take us over and like disobey orders. That's not what's going to happen. Essentially, what's going to happen is we're going to try to bring an AI online and we're going to give it, some idiot's going to not follow the instructions correctly. And then it's going to accidentally kill us all. Right. Like here's an example. I create an AI and I with the sole purpose of reducing carbon emissions, right? To combat climate change. That's your sole job. I say, AI, reduce climate change, reduce carbon emissions by half by tomorrow. What does the AI do? It goes from point A to point B. It kills half of the human race because we're the cause of half of the emissions. So you have to be like, okay, do it without killing half of the humans. So what does it do? It kills enough of our food supply that we starve. Essentially, it doesn't kill us directly. We go, no, okay, let's phrase this question a little bit better. That's how we're gonna die if it's by AI, right? We're not gonna give it, it's gonna be like the genie with the 3 wishes. We're not gonna give it proper instructions. And it's gonna be like, oh, I technically I did what you asked me to do.
It's gonna be like a monkey's paw, just like a curse.
Yeah, basically.
I think I'm fine with those errors, with the making the machines humanoid, because it's cool. That one came out fine. I don't know. It really, that part won't distract you from the movie, but I think that's hilarious because I've never thought about that.
I'm just like, even in the Terminator sense, the movie is great. I love the movie. It's one of the most quotable films ever made. But just in like a practical sense, this is why I'm not like in those test groups. Right? Because I would just rip you apart.
They're like, this one's thinking too much. Get him out of here.
Yeah. This AI, just at a basic sense, this AI can travel back in time and is looking for Sarah Connor. Why doesn't it pull a fucking Deadpool and walk up to her cradle?
Calculate that.
Yeah, anyway, that's our top 5. Tiana, what did you miss? You missed everything just in time to catch us signing off. What we're going to do now is we're going to play our outro, but I don't know, Aaron, you got anything left to say to the crew? We might do this again. This was fun.
What top 5s do you care about us talking the most? And what are some of your favorite apocalyptic movies? Please put them in the chat. I'm very curious, actually. If you can throw them in right now, I'll give a quip about them. Just a quip.
Yeah, let us know what your top 5 apocalyptic films are. Spew them out. I think the next one we're going to do, because we're shooting this preemptively, they're going to be released over the course of the holiday. This was supposed to be a quick video. It's an hour and a half. If we were going to do this, we might as well have talked about Velvet Buzzsaw, okay, which was the film that we were set to talk about.
I'm going to have some opinions on that I don't know if you'll love.
All right, that's fine. No, I enjoyed it as entertainment. Waterworld is one that we overlook. Dry land is not a myth. I've seen it. Yeah, Kevin Costner,
Dishonorable mention.
Dennis Hopper, right? Anthony Hopper. Yeah, it's actually, you know what?
Dennis
That
Quaid,
also
wasn't it?
came out when I was a kid. So I don't have too much of an input on it, but it was one of those things that was on HBO all the time. Aaron mentioned Zombieland an honorable mention, and The Matrix Gold Chain was my number one apocalyptic movie of all time. So that's a good choice.
Great
We
minds.
should do a musical episode, top 5.
Oh,
Maybe.
yes. I would
All
love
right.
to. I'd love to do a musical. Also, I thought Thomas is trying to throw a wrench or give us good ideas out of. I don't know. I was trying to make a joke out of it. I fucked it up. Top 5 TV shows. Will that break our format? Let's find
that
out
would-
by doing it.
Okay, then whatever. We'll fine. Planet of the Apes was my honorable mention, the entire saga. Aaron, I like it all. Aaron has an affinity for the newer Planet of the Apes. I like it all, including the Michael Clark Duncan and Mark Wahlberg world. So no worries there. No bad suggestions. We're gonna have a new president soon. Knock on wood, QAnon. We're gonna have a new president soon. So we should probably do like a top 5 political thriller or
Yeah.
sort of turning over a new leaf sort of film. We should go back to talking about a single film. But
We'll get to Velvet Buzzsaw in the
Yeah.
next at the end of this year or in the new year. You'll find out.
we'll talk about that when that one's up on the slate. But thanks so much, you guys, for coming out. This was really fun. Wall-E is an apocalyptic movie. Honestly, it's
That
like
was
a
on
kid's.
the list. That works because you know
Dude.
we're all like the only difference between Earth now and Earth and Wall-E is that we're still on it and we're just enjoying TV from our house instead of a giant spaceship, and we're just
There
getting
was
fat.
such a big controversy. Yeah, basically, we're Wall-E without the apocalyptic. You know, we're sitting down in our little comfort bubbles. We've got machines out there, a little rumba going through the house, and we're all just getting COVID fat. You know, I don't, not body shaming, but that was a huge criticism of Wall-E when it came out, that it made overweight people the villain. I didn't see it as that. I saw apathy and lethargy as the villain, but that was the criticism.
Human nature's the villain. That's insane. I do remember Backlash, but I can't believe that's what that was about.
Yeah, it's basically shaming heavier set people was the critique that drew the most ire. Anyway, we're gonna call it, guys, because we're gonna have to plan ahead to talk to you guys and incorporate it into the show, because
this was on a whim.
This was absolutely on a whim, but I can see that there's going to be a lot of engagement, whereas for the most part we don't do that normally. Yeah,
and the chat helps a lot. I forgot that Wall-E was even on the list. It makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Hef, for the bits. Please join our Discord and let us know what you would want us to do with those bits, because we had no plans for them. So we will talk to you guys later. Bye.